January 10th, Genesis 30 and 31. Genesis 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I am going to die." And Jacob's displeasure burned against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of Elohim, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb?" And she said, "See, my female servant Bilhah, go into her, and let her bear for me, and let me be built up from her as well." So she gave him Bilhah, her female servant, as a wife, and Jacob went into her. And Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, "Elohim has rightly ruled my case, and has also heard my voice, and given me a son." So she called his name Dan. And Rachel's female servant Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, "With great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and I have overcome." So she called his name Naphtali. And Leah saw that she had ceased bearing, so she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, "Fortune comes." So she called his name Gad. And Leah's female servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, "I am happy, for the daughters shall call me happy." So she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found love apples in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's love apples." But she said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken away my husband? Why would you also take away my son's love apples too?" And Rachel said, "Therefore let him lie with you tonight for your son's love apples." And when Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him, and said, "Do come into me, for indeed I have hired you with my son's love apples." And he lay with her that night. And Elohim listened to Leah, and she conceived, and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, "Elohim has given me my hire, because I have given my female servant to my husband." So she called his name Yashakar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, "Elohim has presented me with a good present. Now my husband is going to dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons." So he called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And Elohim remembered Rachel, and Elohim listened to her, and opened her womb, and she conceived, and bore a son, and said, "Elohim has taken away my reproach." So she called his name Yosef, and said, "Yah has added to me another son." And it came to be, when Rachel had borne Yosef, that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way, to go to my own place, to my land. Give my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my service, which I have done for you." And Laban said to him, "If I have found favor in your eyes, please stay, for I have diligently watched that Yah has blessed me for your sake." And he said, "Name your wages, and I'll give it." So he said to him, "You know how I have served you, and how your livestock has been with me. For the little you had before I came has increased greatly, and Yah has blessed you since my coming. But now, when am I to provide for my own house too?" And he said, "What do I give you?" And Jacob said, "Give me not. If you do this for me, I shall again feed and guard your flocks. Let me pass through all your flock today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and let all the black ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and these shall be my wages. And my righteousness shall answer for me in time to come, when you come concerning my wages, that every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and black among the lambs, it is stolen, if it is with me. And Laban said, See, let it be according to your word. And on that day he set aside the male goats that were speckled and spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had some white in it, and all the black ones among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he put 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob, and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar, and of the almond and chestnut trees, peeled white strips with them, and exposed the white which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters, in the watering troughs, where the flocks came to drink, and they conceived when they came to drink. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth speckled, streaked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs, and made the flocks face towards the streaked, and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he put down his own flocks by themselves, and did not put them with Laban's flock. And it came to be, whenever the strong ones of the flock were conceived, that Jacob placed the rods before the eyes of the flock in the gutters, so they would conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were weak, he did not put them in. So the weak ones were in Laban's, and the strong ones Jacob's. Thus the man increased very much, and had many flocks, and female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. Genesis 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father, he has made all this wealth. And Jacob would look at the face of Laban, and see that it was not towards him as before. And Yah said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers, and to your relatives, and I am with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's face, that is not turned towards me as before, but the Elohim of my father has been with me. And you know that I have served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But Elohim did not allow him to do evil to me. When he said this, the speckled are your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And when he said this, the streaked are your wages, then all the flocks bore streaked. So Elohim has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. And it came to be at the time when the flocks were conceived, that I lifted my eyes and looked in a dream, and I saw the rams, which leapt upon the rocks, were streaked, speckled, and mottled. And the messenger of Elohim spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift your eyes now, and see, all the rams which leap on the rocks are streaked, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the El of Bethel, where you anointed the standing column, and where you made a vow to me. Now rise up, get out of this land, and return to the land of your relatives. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Do we still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned by him as strangers? For he has sold us, and also entirely consumed our silver. For all the wealth which Elohim has taken from our father is ours, and our children's. Now then, do whatever Elohim has told you. So Jacob rose and put his sons and his wives on camels, and he drove off all his livestock and all his possessions which he had acquired, his property of the livestock which he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to his father Yitzhak in the land of Canaan. And when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole the house idols that were her father's. And Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean, because he did not inform him that he was about to flee. And he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river, and headed towards the mountains of Gilead. And on the 3rd day Laban was told that Jacob had fled. Then he took his brothers with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey and overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But in a dream by night Elohim came to Laban the Aramean and said to him, "Guard yourself, that you do not speak to Jacob either good or evil." Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brothers pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done, that you have deceived me, and driven my daughters off like captives taken with the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me, and not inform me, and that I would have sent you away with joy and songs, with tambourine and lyre? And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Now you have been foolish to do this. It is in the power of my hand to do evil to you. But the Elohim of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Guard yourself that you do not speak evil, or that you not speak to Jacob either good or evil. And now you have gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my mighty ones?" And Jacob answered and said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I said, Lest you tear your daughters away from me. With whomever you find your mighty ones, do not let him live. In the presence of our brothers, see for yourself what is with me, and take it with you." For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the two female servants, but he did not find them. And he came out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's. Now Rachel had taken the house idols and put them in the camel saddle and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, "Let it not displease my master, but I am able to rise before you, for the way of women is with me." And he searched, but did not find the house idols. And Jacob was wroth and contended with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, "What is my transgression? What is my sin, that you have hotly pursued me? Now that you have searched all my goods, what have you found of all your household goods? Set it here before my brothers and your brothers, and let them decide between the two of us. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried their young, and I have not eaten the rams of your sheep. That which was torn by beasts I did not bring to you. I myself bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was. By day the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep fled before my eyes. These 20 years I have been in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. Unless Elohim of my father, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Fuhrer of Yitzhak had been with me, you would now have sent me away empty-handed. Elohim has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rendered judgment last night." And Laban answered and said to Jacob, "These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock. All that you see is mine. But what shall I do today to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? And now come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it shall be a witness between you and me." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a standing column. And Jacob said to his brothers, "Gather stones." And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. And Laban called it Yagar Shahadutha, but Jacob called it Galed. And Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today." That is why its name is called Galed. Also Mitzpah, because he said, "Let Yah watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, Elohim is witness between you and me." And Laban said to Jacob, "See this heap, and see this standing column, which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this standing column is a witness, that I do not pass beyond this heap to you, and you do not pass beyond this heap and the standing column to me for evil. The Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Nahor, the Elohim of their father, rightly rule between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Yitzhak. And Jacob slaughtered a slaughtering on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat bread. And they ate bread, and spent the night on the mountain. And Laban rose up early in the morning, and kissed his sons and daughters, and blessed them. And Laban left and returned to his place.